Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Australian Small Business Show, and Happy New Year to you, Matt.
Happy New Year to you, Kristy-Lee. How are you today?
I'm very well. I'm pretty excited about a new year. I think I've shared in a previous episode that 2025 is not my favourite year.
Was
So
it? And you're
I'm,
probably still getting over that really massive, big, wild night we had on New Year's Eve.
yeah, which, which involved the 9 p.m. fireworks on TV,
And
and that
then
was about it.
bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah, no interest in staying up to all hours. My sleep is too important these days. So,
No.
and I did
No.
want to get up to see sunrise on New Year's
I,
Day. So,
I, I think I made it maybe half an hour past you.
yeah, yeah. I think it's pretty common these days. I don't think we're alone.
No.
So we are in a brand new year. I, for one, am pretty excited about that. And today we wanted to chat about a really important topic that I don't think we talk about enough in business, and it's the power of pausing and slowing down in order to speed up, because I'm
Yeah.
actually not very good at this, although I talk about it a lot. And
Well,
I
I'm
think,
s- I'm still looking at a list of things that I like. Where has this time gone?
yeah,
I shut the office doors on the 19th or 18th, whatever it was, and then here we are now.
yeah, yeah, I feel like this year, that sort of whole thing where you forget what day it is between Christmas and New Year just hasn't happened for me, certainly. So I don't think I've really harnessed the power of pausing. I haven't paused intentionally
No.
enough. But it is important that we do take rest and breaks and have to kind of intentionally pause and slow down a little bit at certain times. And a new year is always a great opportunity to do that in order to have a better, next season or next year ahead, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think small business owners know that this is what you need to do, right? You know, the having a clearer head comes from finding space.
Hmm.
But we don't do it very well.
No, we're really bad at it. And I think one reason is, as entrepreneurial types, we kind of pride ourselves on being busy. I mean, I used to think that being busy was a sign of success,
Yep.
was a sign of I'm doing the right things.
It's
Like I've got Facebook memories where I've posted it, nothing like a bit of business planning at 9:30 on a Monday night. What a
successful.
twat.
And like, oh my God, I sent 100 emails today.
Exactly. It's really hard to break that psychologically when you have had that mindset for a long time. And I think a lot of us have. That's why we get into business. But the sooner we realized, and I think the other mindset issue here is that we think that rest needs to be earned.
Yeah, and I think also too, if you think about your first jobs,
Mm.
you've gone to work at Macca's or you've gone to work wherever. If your boss walks past and you're standing there, it's really, what are you doing? Find something to do.
I used to get told
So,
at Macca's, if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean.
so I think it's kind of inbuilt in us. We think that taking a break is being lazy.
Yeah, and that we need to work really hard in order to earn that break. And
Yep.
the truth is, in business, nothing can be further from the truth. If we're not giving ourselves the space and the time to, sort of take ourselves away and get clarity, we're actually holding ourselves back. And I know this, and I've known this for many years. I had this realization a long time ago, but I'm still terrible at it.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Look, well, also too, I think um, there's got to be a point in time, particularly if you're a solopreneur, right? You've started a business. You're going to have to take that leap at some point in time that you
mm,
can't find the space if it's just you and you don't have a reason or somebody or something that can replace you for you to be able to find that time.
yeah, and that's a really common trap solopreneurs, as you said, find themselves in, that if they're not on, the business isn't earning, and therefore
Yep.
bills can't be paid. That's challenging. And I think then as you grow a team, and I've certainly had this experience, you then feel guilty if you're not 100% available to them
To
whenever
the
they
team.
are
Yep.
working. Yeah. So there's
Yep.
this sense of guilt, whether it's just you or you and a team, or you to your clients, that I think is a real part of the problem, is in terms of why we don't slow down enough.
Yeah, and we consider ourselves to be the business, right? So
Mm.
if you aren't there, if your face isn't there, if your voice isn't there, if you're not communicating with the clients, and we think we're gonna lose them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, there's probably been seasons in everyone's business where that could have been the reality, like that
Yep.
there was that much competition, or there's certain periods that are, of course, busy for some businesses. And if you're not around, of course, your competitor's going to swoop up the work. But this time of year, when we've got this Christmas and New Year period, for most businesses, now not all, I mean, retail and hospitality, obviously, this is
Still
not a great
going.
time to take a
Yep.
break, but I think now even more than ever before, people do take time off and either close down the business or their
Yeah.
suppliers are closing down or their customers are closing down. And a lot of the businesses I work with are much more intentional about saying this is the only time as a business owner I can actually have downtime because no one is around. And they've
Yeah.
learnt to take advantage of that rather than trying to squeeze in a holiday in July when they're going to get calls from the team, they're going to get calls from clients.
Yeah, that's right. And look, there's costs. What are the costs? So what are we looking at here? So in terms of, you know, I'm a small business owner. I need a break. Um, what are the costs here? What am I going to miss out on?
Well, I think it depends on your business model, really. And this is why I love recurring revenue models baked into
Yeah,
businesses of all sorts for this very reason that I can take a break if I choose to and know that an element of my business, and it's not my whole business, but a part of my business is still going to have money coming in and
coming in.
things
Yep.
being delivered that don't rely on me. But there's a big chunk of my business that's still not the case. So there is a cost in that I won't be billing people over
Yep.
this period of time if I choose to take a break. And I think that's the reality that a lot of small business owners find challenging, particularly if their cash flow is a bit lumpy or a bit unpredictable or is entirely
Yep.
reliant on them. I work with a lot of businesses that are allied health practices or building and construction businesses. And of course, if they're not doing work, they're not making money. So
So
you've
I
got to
guess
have a plan.
so I guess the answer for a small business owner is if you can't create a recurring revenue model, then it's basically finding somebody to be doing what you're doing and
Of
billing those
course, yeah.
hours.
Yeah, either finding someone to be doing that or having a plan that enables you to have enough of a buffer in your cash flow and your bank account that allows you to take that break and have a pause period that doesn't mean the business is going to fall apart. And, sometimes we start out by this being one day a week, so it's
Yeah.
not a chunk of time. But ultimately, I love helping business owners build businesses that lead them to be able to take 4 weeks off without it falling apart. And that requires a team and an effective delegation and a really good team structure.
So there's costs to slowing down, but I
Mhm.
think there's costs to never doing it too.
Definitely. And it's
So,
probably less obvious and less in the moment, but I think the cost
yeah.
is actually greater, if I'm honest.
Well, I think your ability to make decisions is less. I think we talk about it all the time. When you're right in the middle of something, you can't see it. You get blinded. You might be doing something that's impacting your big business negatively, but you can't see it because you're not taking that time to look into the business while you're in there.
Yeah, 100%. And you know this about me. I've always found that I can't do effective planning in my usual workspace because the client emails keep coming through and I get distracted by them, or I just don't get creative in my
Well,
normal
you
workspace.
can't be strategic whilst all you're doing is being operational.
Yeah, that's right. So I think there can be a bit of fear that might pop up, certainly does for me sometimes, and other business owners in having a period where you're deliberately choosing to slow down.
Yep.
And there's some unknowns that sometimes come with that. And that can be a bit scary. But one of my favorite quotes is if failure isn't possible, neither is success. So you kind of got to sometimes step into the scary land in order to figure out what's next or come up with that next product or service or reinvent your pricing strategy or whatever the case is.
So how do we go about this? As small business owners, I think we always sit there and go, look, I need to create a business where I can take a 4 week holiday every year, but that might not be the best way to approach it. It might be, I want to create a business where I don't do any consulting on a Friday,
Yep.
for example. So maybe it's the case of that we look sometimes as business owners it's like a bit all or nothing. We're either in it all the time or I need to be away from it to get this break. But maybe that's not the answer.
I actually think that's a really important point because I think it's really impractical to go from being totally reliant on you being there for your business to operate to expect to get to a 4 week holiday. Like that is
Yeah.
and it'll fail and then you'll sort of give up and it'll be despairing. So I think planning in time that allows you to do whatever deep thinking work or just take a break or go for a walk is really important. So I've done this in my business and you
Yep.
have to an extent as well. I don't take meetings on Fridays. And I haven't for a couple of years
Yep.
now. And that was an important, and it's not that I don't work Fridays, I do, but I'm doing work on my business. Another thing that I'm going to implement, hopefully in 2026, I'm still working on exactly how, is to have 1 week each month where I don't take meetings and I don't do
Yep.
consulting work. And that That's going to be a big change, but I need that space, and I haven't had that space in the last few years in order to do the thinking work that needs to be done in business.
Yeah.
So it can look like that. We also have a process that we try and implement together, and this affects both of our businesses, where we will try and work away
Yeah.
for a week every quarter or so to allow us to do that space. And when we say work away, we might go on the Tuesday, we'll work Wednesday, Thursday, and have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off,
Yep.
kind of thing. So I think it's baking in what works for you. So figuring out what slowing down or what creating space looks like for you, what is the most beneficial way of doing that, and starting to implement in small ways and build on that, I think.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more about reframing how I look at that break.
Hmm.
And I think it's my first step in order to get there would be to not feel guilty that I'm
Mm.
not answering emails for
Yep.
me. So that's what I'm going to be working on in 2006, 2006, 2026.
And the flashback there to when I started my
20 years
business.
younger. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on it's okay to go for a walk at 11 o'clock because I'm a
Mm.
small business owner. I don't have to rush back and answer an email. I can take that time to focus on, creating some ideas for lead gen or something like that, whilst I'm going for a walk rather than sitting there in the operational and getting cranky about clients getting angry with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, and that can be quite the mindset shift for a lot of people, but that is definitely really important. So this could be creating daily moments, like Matt was just talking about going for a walk, creating weekly or monthly moments. But of course, we also would love for you to aim to take a week off where you are completely unplugged from the business.
Yeah,
Eventually 2 or 3 or 4 weeks off, but don't try and go direct to 4 weeks.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think it's about creating that habit, right? So I think consistency is key here. Is if look, if you've got in your diary that on a Thursday afternoon, I go down to a cafe, I get a coffee, and I sit there and I just come up with ideas, and that's in your diary. But the first day you don't get there.
Yeah,
But then it's still in your diary for next time, so you try again next time. So it's all about building that consistency and creating that habit in order to find that space. And what you'll find over time is that you thought it took 40 to 50 hours a week to run your business, and you'll realize very quickly that actually it doesn't take 40 to 50 hours to run a business. I'm just making it take that much time.
yeah, especially when we're slaves to our inboxes, which so many of us are.
Exactly.
So I think, yeah, that consistency definitely is right as well. And for some of you, this is about pausing to focus on your business rather than being operational. For others, it's actually unplugging completely from the world of business because that's where
Yep.
they get best ideas and inspiration, or just because you need a break. Like that's okay too. You don't have to, when we're taking a break, we don't have to be doing business stuff.
No, exactly. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So I guess our message today is you need to slow down as an entrepreneur and business owner in order to speed up the growth and progression of your business and for you as a leader of that business. And it's an important message for all of us to drop the guilt around that, to prioritize it rather than trying to squeeze it in,
Yep.
and to start by baking in some small incremental options and opportunities for that in a way that works for you. And that's going to be different for everyone so that you can refill that cup.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristy-Lee.
All right. Now, before we go today, I want to remind everyone we have a newsletter we would love you to sign up to. So just head over to the australiansmallbusinessshow.com.au. We'll put the link in the show notes wherever you're catching this episode. Subscribe to our newsletter. We're going to be sending out weekly hot tips for you throughout 2026. So if you want to get those latest small business tips, make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter.
Awesome.